Former President Yoon Suk Yeol has been sentenced to 5 years in prison after being found guilty of charges tied to his brief declaration of martial law in December 2024. Our Park Jun-han leads our coverage tonight.
In the very first verdict among 8 trials former South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol is undergoing, the Seoul Central District Court sentenced Yoon on Friday to 5 years in prison after finding him guilty of abuse of power, obstruction of justice, and other violations related to his failed martial law attempt.
Defendant, please stand. The court sentences the defendant to 5 years in prison. If the defendant objects to this ruling, an appeal may be filed with this court within 7 days from today.
Back in December last year, the special prosecutor sought a combined 10-year prison sentence for former President Yoon on charges separate from insurrection, arguing he abused his authority by obstructing the investigation and infringing on cabinet members' rights during the brief martial law declaration in December 2024. The court strongly criticized Yoon, stating that he effectively turned state security personnel into his personal bodyguards to protect his own interests, severely damaging the rule of law. While acknowledging that Yoon has no prior criminal record and did not personally direct every aspect of the crimes, the judges stressed his lack of remorse and the need for a severe sentence to restore public trust in the legal system. Yoon's defense expressed deep regret over the court's decision. The team argued that the guilty verdict fundamentally misapplied criminal law by oversimplifying the boundary between a president's constitutional powers and criminal liability, while also restricting the defense's rights by limiting evidence review and rushing the ruling. The lawyers said they strongly object to the judgment, calling it legally flawed and politicized, and vowed to challenge it on appeal.
If this logic is upheld, future presidents may hesitate to act in emergencies, fearing that acts of governance could later be judged criminal.
Friday's ruling marks the first in several trials Yoon is undergoing to reach a conclusion, ahead of a separate verdict in his insurrection trial set for February 19th. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.